comadre? I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. All right. Would you like to open up with pozole, tamales, oh my? What are we doing today, Jenny? Tell us.
Yes, I'm so excited. We've been wanting to do a Christmas episode for a while now. And I told Val, I was like, I think the cutest little title would be Pozole, Tamales Atole, oh my, because this is the best time of year for Mexican food. And we also just wanted to talk about different Christmas traditions in general, or not just Christmas, but just this entire time of year. We're going to talk a little bit about New Year's Eve traditions. We're going to talk about Dia de los Reyes, which I completely forgot was a thing. So, yeah, I'm excited to dive in and talk about all of the things, the cozy things of this season. I know Val has been very homesick, and usually this time of year makes me pretty homesick too, because unfortunately I cannot go fly home this year. It's just a little too expensive for me right now. So, hopefully this makes us feel connected and like back home, even if we can't be there physically.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Jenny, thank you for opening up and kind of explaining the episode a little bit more. We are reading off of a few notes so that we don't get sidetracked. So, on the agenda is Christmas through our childhood lens. So, I definitely remember experiencing Christmas in Mexico and experiencing Christmas here in the US and kind of like the differences, but just Christmas in general, like because how Jenny said there were two types of Christmas. Like you had Dia de Reyes was kind of like a second Christmas, but that was a little bit more of like a religious observation and kind of how people go caroling, yeah, like Christmas caroling, and they do singing
Mm-hmm.
like that. We would go get posada, which is kind of like you go to your neighbor's house and you say like I want posada or I'm looking for lodging, kind of like Mary and Joseph did whenever they were about to give birth with like baby Jesus. And they're supposed to turn you away and say like, "Oh, I'm sorry, but here I'll give you like apples or I'll give you punch or I'll give you some bread." And like you just go collect food from like a bunch of houses basically or like your block or your neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Christmas in and of itself here in the US, especially in New Mexico, like it's different because New Mexico is the land of enchantment and like we love green and red chili. Christmas here is definitely different because I think our Christmas in New Mexico is spicier than probably other states for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're definitely going to touch on all of those different things a little bit more in depth throughout the episode. So I'm excited to talk about that and just talk about what it all is for maybe those who are interested and just have never experienced that kind of a thing, maybe more of like a traditional Christmas. But the first thing I want to get into is the idea of spending Christmas with your family on Christmas Eve. So I'm a little bit different with this in my family. As I've always mentioned, my mom is Mexican. And my family, the way that we did it growing up was we just did traditional open presents on Christmas Day. And what we would do is we would have it like the immediate family on Christmas morning. So my dad, my mom, my older brother, and myself, we would open presents as soon as we woke up. And then we would go to my grandma's house or whoever was hosting the big Christmas that year. And I would have all my cousins, my tios, and then we would get like presents from each other. As time has gone on, it has changed quite a bit just because the family is growing and getting really, really big. And actually, I'm sad to say that I don't know if there's going to be like a big Martinez Christmas thing this year. I mean, I'm not there, but like it's just another sign that our family is just growing and getting bigger, and it's kind of hard to get together for the holidays. However, when my parents got divorced, my dad started living with my stepmom, and we would do the Christmases a little bit different. And so her family, they would open Christmas on Christmas Eve. And by the way, if you're listening with children around, I'm giving you a little warning right now. Of like the not so magical conversation. So maybe turn this off and pause this and save this episode for a later time. But this is actually how I found out that Santa wasn't real. I remember we went to my stepmom's house for the very first time, and what we were going to do is we were going to wait till midnight to open all the presents, have a good time, whatever. And I was so excited because I was like, yes, I can finally stay up late enough to see Santa. Because I don't know why I thought that Santa was going to come to me specifically on midnight. And I was like, I'm going to see him in the sky. Like, it's going to be so magical. And they sat me down and they were like, hey, so we got to tell you something. And I mean, obviously, I was sad, but it was cool to experience a different tradition. And honestly, it really worked out for us because, like I said, my parents were divorced. So there really wasn't any arguing about the holidays. I would go to my dad's on Christmas Eve, and then I would go to my mom's on Christmas Day. And it was like that every single year from that point on. So I'm curious, Val, what your experience is with your family. Like, when do you guys open presents? How does it work?
Hey, okay, so this was a very interesting thing, okay? Because when I was living in Mexico, I was very young. I was like 4, 5, 6 years old. And in Mexico, you believe in los tres Reyes Magos, or the three wise men, which again kind of comes from like religious beliefs, mostly Catholic, like they were the ones that gifted baby Jesus gifts when he was born. So Santa Claus was like not really a thing. And also like the way that Santa Claus was explained to me was more like in a religious background, like Saint Nicholas, like he was
Mm.
a saint that made gifts for children, and like he became a saint because of that. So he was mostly explained to me as of like Saint Nicholas, not Santa Claus. So yeah, it was very interesting because for a few years in Mexico, like Santa Claus, he like didn't go to Mexico. It's like, sorry, he doesn't come here. So I was like, I guess that's just not his route. Like, I guess he's just
Hmm.
not coming here. Okay. But then other times he would, and I was just like, I don't know. Like, I guess this year he made it. So then I would ask other kids, and they're like, nah, dude, he didn't visit me. So then I was like, I'm like, maybe it's because you don't
You're
believe.
like, interesting.
Interesting. Yeah. So then it was the opposite way because then when I moved to the US, I would get like Santa Claus gifts, right? And then for Dia de Reyes, Day of the Three Wise Men, I would also get gifts. And then I would ask my friends, like, yeah, did the three wise men come to see you? And it would just go over some kids' heads. They're like, I don't
They're
know
like,
who
what
those
do you,
guys are. Who are you? Who are these men? Who came to see you? Who are these
who
men?
are they? Why are they wise?
Yeah. Why are they wise? Yeah. So then I was like, that's interesting. So yeah, I think I just kind of figured that, it was my parents. Also, like kids at school would be like, yeah, like it's your parents. And then eventually in fifth grade, one of the teachers was like, all right, kids, you guys are getting old enough. If you don't know, I'm gonna tell you. So, yeah, it was a
How old were
teacher.
you when that happened?
I think I was around fifth grade, and he was a male
Okay.
instructor, but
Yeah.
he's not real. But if your parents ask you, you still believe, okay? We're like, okay, you
This is
still
between you and
believe.
me.
Yeah,
That's
he's
funny.
like, but you know
Yeah.
better, okay? I think it was our
Dude,
science
that
teacher, to be honest.
he's like scientifically no, not real.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say, that reminds me of when my cousin found out. Adeline, if you're watching this, I'm so sorry I'm putting you on blast. I remember when she found out that Santa wasn't real. She found out when she was 10, and her younger sister Jasmine, who was just like always hanging out with us because we were all so close in age, she found out at the same time as Adeline. And so she was 8 years old, which was the same age that I was when I found out. And I remember getting to my grandma's house, and my cousin Adeline took me to the side with Jasmine, and she was like, Did you know? Did you know that Santa wasn't real? And I was like, yeah, I found out a few years ago and they told me not to tell anybody. And she just was like so betrayed. She was like, if I have kids, I am never telling them about Santa. Like she was just so sad that like they would
Yeah.
lie to her, which I
Yeah.
get. I mean, I understand. But yeah, it's funny.
I don't know. And maybe this is like a topic or a conversation for another day. But when I parent, I don't know what parenting technique I want to do. I definitely want to take like the historical route and be like, this was Saint
Hmm.
Nicholas and this is where this tradition comes from, kind of like the way I was explained. But I've
Hmm.
also seen kids feel bad of like, how come like Santa Claus gave you so much and didn't give me
Hmm.
anything or gave me so little? And, I don't know. I don't know how
Yeah.
parents do that. Again, I feel like I need to interview a few parents.
Yeah. I feel like I want to still tell my kids about it because I think it is such a magical experience, especially when you're little and like you don't get that many years of that. You know what I mean? But I think when I break the news, I don't want it to be like as if I was lying to them their whole life. You know what I mean? I want it to be like, hey, so just so you know, Santa is more of like a magical feeling and like this and that. Actually, I saw a really good video on TikTok about it, on how this mom explained it to her kid, and she basically was like, it's not necessarily that he's not real, it's just that he's more of like the spirit of Christmas. And I'm the one who's been buying the presents for you because I was the spirit of Christmas. So now you can pass that on and you can hold on to that secret and make it magical for other people, and you can like be part of the magic. And so I really like that approach because it's not focusing on the lie. It's just shifting the perspective of what has been told to them that whole time, you know?
Yeah. Okay, that's pretty
Yeah.
good. I'm like, okay, I might borrow
Yeah.
some of that. Well, I was gonna say before we move on to our third section, Jenny so celebrates the 25th. We celebrate the 24th, so Christmas Eve. And I feel like this is very common across Latinos because I've seen a lot of videos or reels. It's like Latinos celebrating on the 24th. And that is very much my family dressing up. I don't know why. I think it's because like maybe it just goes back to like baby Jesus, but it's like no, like he's about to be born. It's like the king is about to be born. We gotta look good. Well, like we just always dress up for Christmas, which is different because here in the US, I've seen like a lot of families like wear pajamas and have like almost like a pajama party and like they're all matching and they got their plaid.
Mhm.
And that was very interesting when I would go to like my friends and I would show up in like my best outfit and they would be like so cozy and I'd be like, all right, I did not
Yeah.
get the memo. Like I did not know this was a pajama party, friends. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
it's like that meme where it's like me getting dressed up on Thanksgiving just to sit in the sala.
Yeah. 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 Oh man. Okay, I'm ready. What's next, Jen?
All right. Well, actually, this is kind of like just a random little side note, but did you ever go to midnight mass? Because I did do that a few years throughout growing up, and I actually like it. I think it's fun. It's definitely different.
Yeah, I did. I've actually only done that I think once or twice in El Paso with one of my aunts. I think it's beautiful. Like the whole experience, I didn't realize how beautiful like mass at night could be, but it's
Hmm.
actually a very magical experience. But everything that's lit is basically like Christmas lights, the decorations, and then just like the church, I think they go a little bit extra and they, like I don't know, I think it's just a little bit more magical or whimsical, but it was actually a very great experience for me. So I actually would like to do that again. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it kind of brings the meaning of Christmas like in the religious sense more to the front of center. And I don't know, it's just peaceful. Like it really is a vibe. I like it a lot. I don't know what we're doing this year because I'm going to my fiance's sister's house. So they are Catholic. I don't know, maybe we'll go to midnight mass if they want to, but I did one year when we were first dating. Anyways, let's move on to the next segment. So, the next segment is all about food. I love food. I love Mexican food during the holidays, specifically tamales. I'm very lucky. So my tia, she's actually won awards for her tamales in Las Cruces, New Mexico. So if y'all need a tamale plug, I got you. But I'm curious, Val, like, are there any specific meals or dishes that you would? Sorry, I said dishes, and that reminded me of that Demi Lovato video. What's your favorite dish? I really like a mug.
Like a mug. Dude, yes.
Anyways,
I'm like,
what's
here's
your favorite
here's my
holiday
favorite
dish?
dish. Okay, so I have a lot. Okay, so Jenny and I we were actually talking about this and I was saying that I was homesick. I'm not necessarily homesick for just Mexican food because I can go get just Mexican food, but I'm homesick for like my mom's cooking or I'm homesick for like my aunt's tamales or I'm homesick for my fill in the blank. I think that's one of the things that I do love about having a big family and our culture is that, we all share and we all make really large meals and like you take home some of this and you take home some of this or your aunt made atole and like she makes the best one. So, things like that. So there's just things that like I'm homesick for my culture, but my family's home cooking.
Mhm.
But growing up, we definitely had tamales, and that is very laborious to make because,
Yeah.
yeah, it takes like a whole day. It is hard.
Literally, it's
It
like an
is,
assembly
yeah.
line. Like you got
Yes.
somebody putting the masa on the corn husk. You got somebody putting the meat in there. You got somebody making the masa. Like it's a whole team effort, really.
Yes. Yes. So I definitely am homesick for that. Also, kind of like how Jenny was saying, if your family that year decides not to make any tamales or something, there is always somebody that you can get some from. For example, like I would be like, hey, Jenny, like, did your tia make tamales? Because I'll go buy some right now.
Yeah.
I'll go buy some today. So just like being in proximity to my culture and being able to like get these things, I miss that a little bit because even though I
Yeah.
am Mexican, I don't cook with a lot of this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Worst case scenario, just go to like the Walmart parking lot. I guarantee there's somebody selling tamales there.
That's funny. That's funny because sometimes we'll be driving and there'll be like a random like orange stand or watermelon stand, and like I'm like, yeah, that looks like my people. I'm like, I need to go look for like
Like
random
slam the
people selling
brakes.
tamales. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, tamales for sure. And then I don't know how popular enchiladas are in like other states like Arizona or Texas or like Mexico itself, but for sure New Mexico enchiladas are like a staple.
Yeah.
There's this saying of like, do you want red, green, or Christmas enchiladas? And Christmas enchiladas is both red and green. And so, especially in New Mexico, because we have such good green chili, the Hatch green chili is freaking amazing. You have to at least try the green enchiladas. Enchiladas are actually one of my favorite foods. So, my mouth is watering just thinking about them.
I will say that living in Mexico, we had different types of chilies, like chile poblano or chile de árbol or jalapeño. But Hatch green chili is like true to New Mexico and New Mexico culture, and like we don't grow that kind of chili down there.
Mm-hmm.
So like it is very special to New Mexico and New Mexican culture. And yes, I think that is definitely like the enchiladas here are different than the enchiladas in Mexico, and it's because of the chili that we use. And yes, or like our chile colorado, like yum, like it is just so good. Like it is delicious. Pozole, is your family big into pozole?
Yeah, I would say growing up, my family made more menudo than anything else, and I would eat it, but I would not eat the tripe. I do not like tripe. The texture just kind of grosses me out, but I do like the flavor of the caldo in the menudo, like the broth. But I do like pozole better just because there's like I don't have to set the tripe aside. You know what I mean? Like I can just eat the regular meat. But yeah, definitely like both, but I think we grew up more for sure with menudo.
So in Mexico, pozole is definitely like a Christmas staple. And it actually goes back to Aztec times, but corn being like
Mhm.
super important for like the Aztec culture. And so that's something that's like kind of stayed like survived. It is survived the like the test of time. And then also this was interesting, but I was doing some research and I guess some of the foods that are seen in Mexican cuisine, like the tripe or the belly, which also interesting, like Asian cuisine, they serve a lot of like pork belly and like a lot of like kind of organs and stuff. Belly or the eyes or the tongue. It was because like the Spanish would take like the big pieces of meat and they would like, you guys eat all the unwanted stuff. So they were like, well, how do we get creative and make this into something we can actually eat?
Mhm.
So I learned that recently and I was like, oh, that would explain menudo and like
Yeah.
tripe tacos and all this stuff. Like interesting.
Yeah. I can't remember if I said this on one of the episodes or if this was just one of the times that we were Snapchatting, but I remember telling Val a few weeks ago, I went to a food truck here in Knoxville and they had menudo and I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna get this menudo. Like, this is gonna be freaking amazing. I get home and there was only tripe in the bowl. I mean, it was tripe and the broth, but there was no hominy. So I looked it up and I found out that that's only common in like the southwestern states of the United States. Like it's not common in actual Mexico. And I was actually talking to one of my coworkers about it who is Mexican. And I was telling her that story and she was like, "Wait, what? Like hominy? Like what do you mean?" And I was like, "Yeah, like I'll just only eat the hominy." And she's like, "We don't put hominy in ours." And I'm like, "That's so interesting." And like I am just learning more and more that again for sure I do like Tex-Mex. But and I don't know, I feel like it's hard because I feel like Tex-Mex gets a bad name because it people make it sound like it's like watered down Mexican food or like overly Americanized Mexican food. And don't get me wrong, like there's definitely like bad Mexican food places where it's like not spicy enough. But I feel like if you're getting Tex-Mex in El Paso, in actual Texas, or if you're getting like southern New Mexican food, it's still really spicy because we do have access to that hatch green chili. So I don't know. I'm just learning a lot here living here in Tennessee when it comes to the Mexican food that we have here.
Yeah, I think it's also interesting, like depending on the region, because when I was little, I lived in the state of Veracruz, which is a state in Mexico, and there their food is very seafood oriented. So like seafood
Mhm.
tacos, squid tacos, like anything that you can think of tacos,
Yeah. Do they have a lot
crab
of
tacos.
plantains?
Yes, rice and
Yeah.
plantains, and it's almost like a little bit more like kind of Cuban.
Yeah, like Caribbean.
But yes, but when you say Tex-Mex, I grew up with that a little bit more when I did live in Texas because you guys, you don't understand how much I've moved. Like after I relocated in Las Cruces, I didn't move for like 10 years, but before that I was living like everywhere. In like okay, I feel like seafood in Mexico is the equivalent of like Mexican food in California. Like if you think of like
Okay.
Baja fish
Yeah.
tacos or like
Yeah.
shrimp cocktail. It's like it's Caribbean kind of Mexican food, fresh fish. It's okay.
Uh-huh.
It's not my favorite, but yes, there's definitely like a difference between like Mexican food or like Tex-Mex in Texas versus like California Mexican food because there's been
Right.
times when I've been in California and I'm like, what did I just eat?
Yeah. You're like, it's not bad. It's just not what I was expecting, you know?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Or there's no
Yeah, I don't
spice, I
know.
feel like.
Maybe we should start creating some more subgenres for Mexican food because again, I think a lot of it really does taste good, but it's just its own thing, you know? Like I feel like you could say the same for like fusion foods, right? Like there's some places that do like Puerto Rican and Korean like fusion or like there's Korean barbecue. You know what I mean? So I feel like instead of just like writing it off and being like, "Oh, it's Tex-Mex." It's like, "Well, Tex-Mex can be really good, but are you having Tex-Mex or are you having watered down Mexican food?" You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Yeah. All right, let's see. Do we have any other foods we want to talk about? Well, we can talk about atole and champurrado. So I actually didn't know what champurrado was. eh, just because I used the word atole, but I guess is it the same thing? I didn't really have it that much growing up. Like I've had it,
Had
but
yeah.
not a ton.
I've had both. I've had both, and I like atole just because I think atole is thicker. But let me see atole versus champurrado because I know there's a difference.
Yeah, I think champurrado might have like corn in it or something like that.
Yes. Okay. So atole is a broad category of a thick, warm, corn-based Mexican drink, while champurrado is a very specific type of atole that includes chocolate, usually Mexican chocolate, alongside with masa, corn dough,
Mm,
piloncillo. I guess it's just like a specific type of atole.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yum.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
definitely. I've had it before, but I wouldn't say it was like a super big staple. I think it was more like if I did have it, it would be at a posada, but it wasn't something that like my family went out of their way to make that often. Any thoughts on that? That actually might be a really good segue because we're going to talk about posadas here in a little bit, but any thoughts before we move on? All right. So, posadas. The word posada directly translates to lodging or inn. And in New Mexico, well, not just New Mexico, but in the southern part of the United States, so Arizona, New Mexico, I would assume Southern California and Texas, a lot of people do still practice las posadas, and it's definitely a practice in actual Mexico. And so it's celebrated between December 16th and the 24th. It is a 9-day interval. So that represents the 9 months of Mary's pregnancy. And basically, the easiest way to describe it is it's like a reenactment of what Mary and Joseph went through as they were going to find somewhere to stay so that she could give birth to baby Jesus. And I was doing a little bit of research online and I found out that this actually came from plays that churches used to put on back in the day. I want to say, let's see here. I found something that said, okay, that the celebration has been a Mexican tradition since the year 1586, but it actually originated in Spain. So it's been something that's been practiced for a long time. And then as the years have gone on, it's kind of turned into its own thing. And so usually what will happen is you will have a host, and I called my mom to ask her about this because I remember going to them growing up, but I didn't remember exactly the structure of it because I was so young. Literally all I remember is going inside, eating really good food, and having atole, like singing songs and praying a rosary. So I couldn't remember exactly the process of it, but the way that she described it to me, that they did it in my hometown, Chamberino, New Mexico. They would start off at one person's house, and that person would be what does she call them? I think she called them peregrinos. And so they would have this little set that you put on this like piece of wood, I guess. And it was like a little nativity set. So they would hold it at their house, and whoever's like playing the part of Mary and Joseph would go to that house and they would ask for lodging. And like you said, Val, they would deny them and they would say, no, I'm sorry, but we don't have any room here at this inn. And so people every single night would go to a different house and repeat this same thing. And there would be singing. There would be like a group of people with Mary and Joseph outside the house singing church songs. And then once you guys were all done, you would go inside. Maybe you would pray a rosary, and then you would have like atole and like cookies or pan dulce or something like that. Like I said, so there it's a 9-day interval. So then you would go to the next house, and that little nativity set would go to the next house of whoever was hosting the next night. And you keep repeating that exact same cycle until you get to the final house. And then at the final house, they would be like, yes, this is all we have though. It's just this little, what is it called? I can't remember. No, where Jesus ended up, like where he's in the manger.
The haystack, like
I can't remember. There's like a name for, I don't remember. Let me look. There's like a name for, I don't know why I want to call it a cave. It wasn't a cave.
that's funny. I don't. I know it's not a cave, but I don't have the other word. I'm like, I know he was born at a stable.
Maybe, yeah. Manger. He gave birth in a manger or stable. Yeah, stable. I don't know why. Whenever I was thinking of the word stable, I was thinking of the actual little like bale of hay, but the stable is what it was because that's where the animals were. So, anyways, back to what I was saying. The last person at the end of the night, they would say, yes, but all we have is this stable. Is that okay? And Mary would be like, okay. And then again, you do your singing, your praying, all that good stuff. And so that's pretty much all I remember and all of what my mom told me earlier on the phone today. I did go to a few of them growing up, but it definitely got like less and less over the years. But Val, do you have any like memories or things you want to say about that?
Yeah, so that's definitely something that we did in Mexico City, but we did not actually ever go to a posada while living here in the US. However, we would go to church and then we would see like the theater and the plays, and so that was always kind of like a little bit like nostalgic. But yes, I remember getting goodies, mostly punch, just because I think it's like something that's cheaper and more affordable to make, like just like fruit punch and yeah, just lots of food. I just remember that and playing at nights because these kind of would take place more later into like the evening. So I'd just be like drinking my
Mm-hmm.
punch, hanging out with other kids. Yeah, and it was just nice. Like it's just something that I remember from my childhood, but I haven't
Yeah.
practiced or done in adulthood.
Yeah, and I guess my mom was saying that she went to one when she was little with her grandma in El Paso, and on the last night that they went, they had like a piñata. And whenever I was doing my research, that was something that I saw too that was more common. So I think it's definitely a little bit different of a practice for those who live in actual Mexico. Actually, if you're watching this and you live in Mexico or you've gone to posadas in Mexico, I would love to hear your experience if there's anything that's different or the same. But yeah, I really do enjoy that. Like, again, I don't mind the religious stuff during the holidays. I think it's really nice not to just like relate it back to Santa Claus and stuff like that. I think it's nice to be able to kind of tie a deeper meaning to it. Let's move on to our next topic. So this one doesn't really have any like super deep, it doesn't have a really deep meaning or anything like that, but it's something I did want to mention because again, I know it's unique to New Mexico, and it's the luminarias, or some people call them farolitos. So basically, what they are is they are paper bags that you fill with sand, and then you'll put like a little tea light candle in there. Or if you're trying to be more safe, you'll put like the battery powered ones in there. And then they'll just put them all around the house, like on the outside to decorate them. Or I've seen them be decorations for churchways, or sorry, churches or walkways. I know NMSU has them every year as well, and I think they're really beautiful. Love that it's such a unique type of decoration for actual New Mexico.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So, backstory, I did ROTC for 4 years in high school, and we would set up luminarias every year in Mesilla. So, I think luminarias are definitely more Spanish, like a more Spanish tradition versus like Mexican. But depending on the region, I think like Mesilla, they'll say like luminarias, but in Santa Fe, they might use the term like farolitos, kind of like you said. It just like depends where you are. But we were driving with my husband the other day, and he's like, "Man, New Mexicans are just so creative. They're using lunch bags as decorations." And I was like, I was like, "Yeah, babe, that's exactly what they're doing. They just decided to pull out their lunch bags."
That's funny.
Dang. Yeah, and I was just like, I can't unsee it now. Now I'm like, everybody decided to
Yeah.
pull out their lunch bag. It just,
They're like, well, what do we
yeah.
got here? I wonder how that started. I was trying to do research to find like what the historical ties were behind it, but I couldn't really find much. But I'm like wondering who the first person was to try it. They're like, you know what? We don't got lights this year, but we can figure something out.
Yeah, right, right. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
then,
it's definitely oh, go ahead.
oh, sorry. No, you're good.
No, but it is definitely like a beautiful sight to see if you are in New Mexico. To go down to Mesilla is definitely like something extremely beautiful, and I will try to post some pictures because it's something that my family started to do. We would just go to Mesilla for
Oh, yeah.
Christmas. When Jenny visited, I took her to Mesilla for Christmas, and we got some pictures around the tree, and like yes, like Mesilla is absolutely beautiful. So is Santa Fe. I've not been in Santa Fe for Christmas, but I have been like there around the holidays. And same thing, they really go out like all out with like the decorations, and it is a really pretty tradition for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say I didn't even realize how big of a debate this was. I didn't even know the term farolitos. I've only heard luminarias, but apparently a lot of people debate on what the right term to use is, because I guess a lot of people in northern New Mexico, when they think of the word luminarias, they think of bonfires. And I didn't know that that was a thing. So that's kind of interesting too. Yeah. So yeah, brief little segment, but I did have to shout that one out. Up next, we're going to start to move a little bit further away from Christmas, and we're going to go into New Year's Eve traditions. And I know this has become very popular with TikTok, the eating grapes under the table. So you got to eat 12 grapes, and you have to have a wish for each grape, and you have to do it in under a minute, which is actually crazy. I did it for the first time last New Year's Eve. I was like under the table. I had my phone in front of me with my notes app, and I was like, okay, just eating as quickly as I could. It's like stressful.
Yeah. So my family actually does do this. Yes, actually, this is like a very, I don't want to say like big Osoyo tradition, but like we've done this since I was little. I've gotten better at it. So I will just write things down on a piece of paper, and I will just think of a word. Like one will be for January and it'll be like money. Two will be like wealth. Three will be like health. Four
That's
will
smart.
be like love. And like it'll just be like word, 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 word. And I'm just like eating this. But yes, so the 12 grapes, we definitely do that. We also toast at midnight. What else? I know Jenny's got other traditions here. So she's got the 12 grapes, underwear. So if you are like trying to manifest something, if you wear red underwear, it is for passion, love, and romance. Orange, professional success and ambition. I don't have any orange, darn. Yellow or gold. Wow. Money, wealth, success, and happiness. Okay. Green, howlin'. That's very cool. Dang.
Yeah.
Dang.
I'm just gonna get some rainbow underwear and call it a day.
Just all of it. That is
All the
so
good vibes.
funny. That is so funny. Yeah. I feel like this was like a little personal, but I had my aunt one day, she's like, but you're wearing like your fill in the blank underwear today. Oh, I think I was like manifesting like a boyfriend. He's like, well, throw on some red underwear, mija. And I was like, oh my God, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
but
I
yeah.
didn't really grow up with it. Again, I found out about it through like TikTok. Like I knew the grapes thing was a thing, but I didn't know about the underwear thing until like everything started blowing up on TikTok. And oh, and then there was a luggage thing too. Like I guess if you take your luggage around the block or something, that means that you're going to manifest a lot of travel. So, yeah, but I've never done that one. But yeah, kind of interesting.
Mm, dang. No, I mean, it's interesting to see where these superstitions come from. I used to have this superstition, or it came from an aunt, but it was like better to always cut your hair during like a full moon because your hair would be like healthier and it would grow
Mm.
back faster. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes. Well, I haven't heard about it with hair. That's so random. I heard about it with plants.
Okay.
Apparently, if you like weed your plants or like trim your plants, when I say weed your plants, I mean like you're pulling the weeds out of them, is what I'm trying to say. Or if you like cut off any excess or stuff like that, that you're supposed to do it during a full moon because the moon is getting bigger. So when it's getting bigger, when it's waxing, it's like having more of a gravitational pull. And so it's making it easier for the plants to grow. Or like I've also heard that with like shaving, which is like really weird, but basically people say that if you shave, you want to do it like if you're a woman and you're trying to reduce the amount of hair that's growing when you're shaving, you want to do it during a new moon when it's waning because there's going to be less of a gravitational pull and your smooth shave will last longer. This is so freaking random. But yeah, that's what I've heard.
Dang, I've not heard that, but I
Yeah.
definitely like to go into the new year with like a fresh haircut. That is like one thing, and that's just a Val thing. That's not like a, I just like having nice
Superstition.
hair January
Yeah.
1st. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, next.
All right. Next topic. So we're kind of going in chronological order of when these things take place. So we're going to touch back on Dia de los Reyes. So this one I actually did not know about until I lived in Florida, which was just a few years ago. I want to say I found out about it in like 2022. My family doesn't practice it. I have seen there's like a very specific bread that you use on this day, and I have seen it. So, like, it's been around me in some capacity, but for some reason, my family doesn't do it. So, basically, what this day is, it's called Three Kings Day. In other places, it's known as Epiphany, and it's celebrated on January 6th to honor the three wise men. And so, what you do on this day is you have a gathering and you have something called the Rosca de Reyes, which is or you can call it a king's cake, or Rosca means wreath. So basically, it's like in the shape of an oval, and there's like really colorful little, like, what would you call it, Val? Like candy or.
Actually, I know this type of candy. This type of
Mhm.
candy is called ate, and
It's like a
ate is
gummy, right?
it's
Kind of.
a leather, it's a like fruit skin, fruit leather skin. So if you
Mm.
think of like what's that popular candy that we used to eat as kids? It's like fruit, but it is like fruit leather. Let me see. Let me look up
I'm
like
thinking, I know exactly what you're talking about. I just can't think of it. Yeah.
what would you
Yeah.
say? Like high fructose corn syrup. So like the consistency is a lot different versus like the more like natural like ate or the more natural just fruit leather where it's like the fruit pulp that's been pushed down to make like a
Hmm.
gummy. Like yeah, that's what it is. But it's in Spanish it's called ate and they
Hmm.
have different flavors and that's what they use to decorate the rosca, which is the wreath.
Bread. Yeah.
Yeah, growing up, I didn't like it because if you've grown up with like lollipops or like yummy, really like sugary candy, this is like, what is this? Like this is just fruit with no sugar. So yeah, it
Yeah.
it definitely is like an acquired taste. Like I know my grandparents liked it. I was like, I could care less for it. But this is what it looks like. Like that is what ate
Yeah.
looks like. So they use that to decorate the wreath. And
Yeah.
the bread is good
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah, the bread is kind of like a pan dulce bread, right? Yeah. Yeah, and then so inside the bread, you put a little, it's kind of weird. You put like this little figurine in there. It's kind of like a little, like a Lego is the best way I can describe it. It's like a little tiny plastic thing. They call it the doll. And basically, the doll is supposed to represent Jesus Christ as a baby. And so, what you do is whoever makes the bread, they just like randomly put it in there, and I don't think that they know where they put it. Like, I don't know exactly how it works when it comes to how they hide it, but then they start cutting the pieces and then they distribute it. And whoever gets the piece that has the baby Jesus inside of it, they then have to host another event on February 2nd, I believe. Let me double check here. And it's for Dia de la Candelaria, which I'll be honest, I didn't do extra research on, so I don't know exactly what that is. Maybe Val can give us some more insight. But basically, that person is the host for that next event, and they provide tamales and atole for everybody. So I think it's kind of funny because it's like, dang, like now I got to host a whole other event. But traditionally, children in Spain, they will receive more gifts on Three Kings Day than they will on Christmas because the three kings are the ones who bring the gifts to them. And so I heard that there's this thing that they'll do where they leave their old shoes with like a little wish list on top of it. And then on Three Kings Day, the shoes will be filled up with presents. So, yeah.
Dang, that is really cool. So I was looking up what Dia de la Candelaria is, and it is a Catholic holiday, and it is to commemorate Jesus in the temple and the purification of the Virgin Mary. And it is a Catholic festivity. Again, like Mexico is a very, very Catholic country, and it's just a very mixed population. Also, like it was colonized by Spain, who is also a very Catholic country. So just lots of Catholic traditions. But I wish I would have had my grandparents a little bit longer, and I wish I would have like paid attention to like a lot of these holidays because I celebrated them, and then once we moved to the US, it's different for sure. But
Yeah.
it's cool to reconnect for sure. It's really cool to be like, I did that. Now I know what it
Yeah.
means. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing about living in New Mexico that I do miss is the option of being able to partake in these different rich Mexican culture like events was so much more common when we lived there because obviously it's all of our parents and their parents who still live there and they are wanting to make that tradition stay alive. And so because there is such a big community of people who are wanting to get together and to keep it alive, it's like, oh hey, they're going to be doing this next week, you want to go? Whereas like Val living in Washington and me living in Tennessee, it's like there's nowhere that has luminarias, there's nowhere that has posadas here, at least not that I know of. Maybe I just need to like do a little extra digging, but it's something that I want to make more of an effort to try and do the next time I go home for Christmas cuz it is special. Yeah. So, definitely this was a little bit of a shorter episode, but before we go, we are going to give some closing thoughts. So, I just want to ask you, Val, what Mexican Christmas means to you, or in general, just Christmas, like in general, are there any things that you plan on keeping alive for your children whenever you have them, and ways that you want to kind of make Christmas like a little bit more tied to your roots?
Yeah, definitely. I think I definitely want to bring back a lot of like the cultural and more traditions. Also, just exploring religion through like a historical lens, but also like as a believer and just explaining to like my kids like the significance or why we're doing something. What else? I also like a little bit of both. Like I also do like American culture and I also do like, for example, like the pajamas to assimilate. And I think in assimilating, I forgot a lot of like things that were taught by my grandma or my grandpa, or things that, they put a lot of effort into teaching me. And now as an adult, I'm revisiting and I'm like, oh, my grandma taught me this. Oh, like my grandpa taught me that. And like keeping it and loving that. So yeah, definitely the food for sure. The food, the traditions.
Same.
I want my family to experience tamales and pozole. And I remember when we moved to the US, that's something that my mom kept alive. And I think a lot of the Christmas or the magic in Christmas actually comes from parents. I think they're the ones that create the magic. Or, like, for example, like, like the Christmas cookies for Santa or the elf on the shelf. Even though cultures are different, that magic is still relevant or similar across cultures. So I see the effort that the parents, like, oh, are you going to write Santa your wish list, or are you going to
Yeah.
fill in the blank? This is another thing that I forgot to talk about. For the three kings, whenever you also write them a wish list and you tie it to a balloon and you send it. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but you send your
That's
little
cool.
wish list on a balloon. Let me see if I can look up Dia de Reyes balloon. But yeah, you see a lot of kids like sending their balloon off. I'll just like post, like, I'll just put a picture right here, and like the little kids let go. Dang, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Jen.
sorry. You're good.
And
That's
they
cute.
send their little balloon off. So yeah, just different traditions for sure. But yeah, definitely want to create that magic one day and stick to those family recipes and actually learning them, because as much as I miss my mom's tamales, I need to figure out how she makes them, like
Yeah.
the way she makes them. Or the pozole, which is one that I can make. It's just getting the ingredients can be hard up here in Washington.
Hmm.
But yeah, what about you, Jen? What about
Yeah,
you?
for sure the food. That's actually something I told my mom, and she actually told me that she's working on a little recipe book for me, which like makes me want to cry. It like warms my heart so much. But my grandma, unfortunately, she has dementia and she got diagnosed, I want to say almost 2 years ago now, I want to say. I could be wrong, but unfortunately, she is getting worse and worse every day. And so it kind of brings me to the reality that we're not always going to have her. And I'm like, mom, like, I know that there's no specific measurements, and usually grandmas measure with their heart, but like if you ever see her cooking, please write down the recipe for me, because that is our way of connecting back to our family members. And like it might not ever taste the exact same, because for some reason there's something special that they put in there that just it makes it taste just like theirs, but we can always try and get as close as possible to it and use that as a way to like go back to our childhood. So definitely food. Again, I would like to just learn more about my community and see if maybe there's anything here in Knoxville that I don't know about yet that connects me more to like my Hispanic community, like maybe going to specifically Spanish Christmas mass or something like that. You know what I mean? And just like getting connected with people that are here, because I would love to bring those traditions to life and partake in them again. Yeah. Let's see here. Okay, so we're going to kind of go into the New Year's Eve conversation one more time. And Val and I wanted to talk about some of the manifestations that we have for the year of 2026. I have not put a lot of thought into it quite yet. Usually I start to think about my goals like right after Christmas has passed, but I do have some loose goals that I do want to just put out into the universe and hopefully bring to life. Excuse me. The first, for sure, I want to focus on learning Spanish and becoming fully fluent. I say that every single year, and I get a little bit closer every year, but I would really, really like to just finally nip it in the bud and become fully fluent, or at least to a level where I feel confident in being able to speak it freely. Maybe one of these days we can do an episode where I try to speak in Spanish, because Val is fully fluent. I definitely want to focus a lot more on my health and fitness this year. I want to focus on my art this year. So I actually just posted a video on TikTok talking about my history with art and some of the pieces that I'm currently working on. So definitely give me a follow there. What else? Trying to think, and just be like more active on social media, I would say. Val and I have a lot of goals when it comes to Conscious Comadres, when it comes to our own personal accounts, and then me for my real estate account. So I do want to be more consistent with my posting on social media. So I think that's everything that I can think of right now.
I'm gonna give you some time to think, and then I'll go, and maybe we can just feed like into each other. But in regards to learning Spanish, I think the more you know, the more you know. And I don't think you should ever feel guilty for wanting to learn another language or like learn, your mother's tongue or whatever it might be. But the more you know, because when you learn Spanish, the whole Latin America opens up, Spain opens up, like the world opens up even more. I personally want to learn French and Italian, and I've been trying to learn French and Italian for like 4 years now, and I just felt like I will be dedicated and then I fall off and I forget, and then like I'll be dedicated and then I fall off and I forget. But I definitely want to dedicate myself to French and Italian just because they're Latin based and I see the similarities and I think they're easier languages for me to. But those are my goals in terms of languages. I also want to read more Spanish because if you don't use it, you lose it. And so just knowing that I have this knowledge and I want to pass it down one day and I want to be able to do it right. Also writing it, like knowing how to speak it is one thing, but then writing it, knowing what the words look like, I need to see it. So I need to read more books in Spanish. In terms of like professional, I don't know who tunes into this. If you tune in, comment. You're like, "What?" But I actually got laid off a week ago and it's been kind of like a heavy blow, but also I'm going to use this as a time to reflect and grow in other ways. So I got laid off. I'm going to use this time and I want to write a few children's books. And actually Jenny's known about this for a while. I wrote one. I did it. I just need to like follow through and do something with it. Like I did it. I didn't like not do it. But I'm like, okay, what next, Val? I'm like, I should publish it, huh? It's like, yeah, Val, you should probably publish
Yes.
it. But at my core, I love kids. I've worked with kids probably all of my professional career, and I've learned so much, and those are the minds that I want to help grow. So I want to challenge myself to publish 3 or 4 books for Amazon, so self-publish, and more about psychology, how to identify emotions, what to do with emotions, using your words, things on like why sleep is important because I was like a rowdy kid that didn't want to go to sleep. But I know like sleep is good for your brain. And when you sleep, you solidify memories and you solidify what you learn. And like teaching kids on like the why you should do things versus go to bed, I told you so. I had a book to know like why or like I feel angry, these are the things that I can do, or I feel sad, these are the things that I can do. So I've literally thought about these books and they're in my brain and I need to like put it in real life. Also, like I need to finish my art. I literally have a bunch of art stuff back there, don't look. But focusing more on my art, focusing on travel. I want to travel more. I want to expand my mind, my brain, and then just goals with my husband, actually be getting married religiously, and then I have a lot more goals. But what else, Jenny? What else you got?
Yeah, you definitely made me think of a few. So, first of all, yes, you do need to publish that. I will be holding her accountable, but man, I have so many. I want to definitely get the ball rolling when it comes to real estate. I want to make it such a consistent thing for me when it comes to like getting new deals and new clients and things like that, that I am able to make, let's like think of some specific numbers. I want to make at the very minimum, okay, $60,000 by the end of the year or better. If the universe wants to bless me more, I am all here for it. But I am at a place in my life where I'm going to be turning 30 this upcoming year. And I have unfortunately been on the struggle bus when it comes to finances for my entire 20s. Literally, ever since entered the workforce, I've had a hard time with my finances. And so I want to become more financially literate. I want to make better choices. I want to be more savvy and smart when it comes to my money choices. And I want to get to a point where I only have to focus on real estate for my I want to word this very specifically, for my main job, I should say, because at the moment I'm currently serving and I have always had to have a side job in addition to this real estate job so that I can, make ends meet and pay my bills. But I want real estate to be my main thing so that I can focus on the things that I love, like fitness, like making art, and maybe one day I can sell it. Maybe this year will be the year that I can make that happen. And so I just want to use my time more wisely, be more intentional about where I'm putting my energy. And You know what? Let's be honest. I want to make this year the year that I just really care for myself. I'm not going to say I'm entering my villain era. Don't have any aspirations to be a villain, but I want to set my boundaries and I want to be confident about setting my boundaries and I want to take care of my mental health. And so I am just hoping that this year brings more confidence and doesn't make me feel so extremely challenged because 2025 was very, very challenging. I have grown because of it, but I want to get to a point where I'm starting to enjoy the fruits of my labor.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Jen, I love that for you. And if you guys can also keep us accountable, I think I love this art form. Also, content creation. Jenny and I have challenged ourselves to post daily or create some sort of content, but it is creating. Like, I genuinely think I was born to create. That is what gives me fulfillment and not exactly like accomplishing a goal. Like, accomplishing a goal is like, okay, like I reached it, I did it. But when I create something, when I put out a video, or when I put out art, I'm like, I made that, I did that, or like, so I want to be a full-time creative and I want to get paid for being me or for the things that I make. And I'm so lucky that Jenny and we started this and we're ending this together. And we're just so thankful for you guys because we were like, well, maybe no one will watch. Like, what's there to be embarrassed if like nobody watches it? No one will know. But then people started watching. So we're like, man, now we got to keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's growing steadily. We don't have any like top charting views or anything like that yet, but we are slowly growing. And every time Val and I check our YouTube channel or Spotify or our analytics on like our short form content that we post on YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels, we just hype each other up, and it gets so exciting because like even though we don't have a ton of views right now, we're still making a difference and we're still touching people's hearts and people are enjoying our conversations as much as we are. And so it's exciting to see that we are putting out that good energy into the world, and I cannot wait to see how this grows.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we end this, I do want to say thank you to the audience. And also, one of the things that Jenny was saying in terms of like manifesting, it's like, what do you want it to look like? What do you want to look like? What do you want to wear? Do you want to be like in scrubs or a suit and tie or high heels or tennis shoes? Like, maybe this is food for thought for you. And maybe you can comment down below just to show us
Yes.
that you're listening, but also that we'll also pay attention to the comments. Like, what do you want out of 2026? Who do you want to be? What do you want to wear? How you want to be treated? How much money do you want to make? Where do you want to visit? Maybe you're family planning, like what does your nursery look like? Or, like just fill in the
Yeah.
blank, but it's good to just have goals and keep growing as a person. Or what language do you want to learn? Or what classes do you want to take? Whether it's art or dance or pottery, I don't know, like, maybe it's starting your own content creation. Who knows? I think everybody has something to offer. So, yeah, I don't know, Jen, what do you got for
I put the chain on the door and Kyle couldn't get into the apartment. Oh my gosh, so bad. Oh my god. Okay, so we're gonna have to end this soon, but before I go, last thing I wanted to manifest has to do with my fiance. We're also getting married this upcoming year, so I just want to manifest a beautiful relationship and really work on our communication, just constantly get better. Hopefully we'll get to the point where we start having kids soon. So, all the beautiful, wonderful things. As Val mentioned, sorry, I'm just laughing because that's so funny. I feel so bad that he was stuck out there. As Val mentioned, please comment your manifestations and goals down below. We would love to hear them. Do you have anything else before we go?
No, just sending you guys love wherever you are. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and I really can't wait for 2026 and all of the ways that we will grow together.
All right. See you guys later. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll see you soon. Yes.